discovered with the new mayor there that the problem is Liboton and Piana Francis streets where a lot of kids walk to school and there's very little sidewalks. But we found out that the roads had very wide lanes per car. A lot of our roads are default into 4-meter lanes, a 4-meter widening lane where the car passes through.
Okay.
But in slow, dense city streets, you can do with only 3 meters. So the mayor is trying to convince the DPWH to allow her to reduce the width of the lanes. We're not removing lanes in the street, and reducing the lanes by 1 meter will give you additional 2 meters on either side of the road to allow for widened sidewalks and bike lanes. So it can be done. We did the same thing over in Emerald Avenue here. By removing the center island, we were able to add 1.5 meters on either side of. So there are ways to regain the space for sidewalks. It's just creative design.
And you say this is a lot cheaper than maintaining the roads, or?
Well, it's the same price, but now you're focusing on 95% of us who
the
don't
population.
own cars. Who don't.
But how about motorcycles, right?
Yes.
If you take a look,
that's a challenge.
The motorcycles can't even find themselves. I mean,
yes.
Where to place themselves on the road.
Yes. So
paano po yun
then
kung babawasan?
it's a slightly more complicated process of redesigning the roads. Right now, what we're doing is just defaulting into 4-meter wide lanes in roads that just keep on adding lanes. There's no distinction between through traffic and local traffic. So say Commonwealth is the worst example of it. You've got 20 lanes, 10 on each side. It doesn't work because it's all in the same. There's no distinction between local, between through traffic, fast lane traffic, and slow. So there's a process called boulevardization in the States and Europe, where they've taken this 10 plus 10 or 20 lane or 16 lane roads and redistributed fast traffic in the center and then segregated local traffic for local service roads. Now you have to make that distinction aside from other correctives like not allowing people to park right beside the road because people then use the road or highway itself as a driveway for backing out. There's so many things that you can do, but it entails good urban design. Most of our roads are just designed by engineers who just lay out the concrete. But proper urban design takes into account what people need in terms of where they walk, where they drive, where they have to take on the buses, and where they have to have some shade, of course, with the trees.
Well, Greenpeace reports that the country has lost about 1 trillion pesos to government's climate tag expenditures and corruption from 2023 to 2025. That's the estimate of Greenpeace, but on a more conservative tone, Secretary Ralph Recto has said about 118 billion has been lost from 2023 to 2025. If you were given that much money, let's say 1 trillion, what could have been done with that?
Well, if you not even 1 trillion, you can use some of that for improving pedestrian infrastructure, sidewalks, pedestrian bridges or crossings, non-motorized transport. You have 2 types of transport: motorized transport, and then you have the non-motorized transport, which is bikes and walking, and even scooters, semi-motorized. So we can spend money on making it easier and more comfortable for people to walk. It's called intermodal connectivity also. MRTs and LRTs, when you come up from the jeepney stops, there's almost no sidewalks. The stairs are not properly designed, so that gap,
sira
pa, and sometimes there's not even. Yes, you would trip and fall everywhere. So we have no in other cities and other countries, they have departments of sidewalks
Oh.
to look at how to spend the best money or the best amounts of money for that type of infrastructure. And then trees are part of it. Trees and parks, because you have to have relief. Parks in other countries are considered public infrastructure. So we have to get the public works and highways to remember that the first two words are public and works. It's highways is the last thing. Highways is just for cars and vehicles. And then the rest of the transport, we have to refocus from car-based infrastructure to rail and bus. And then in the rail, we have our subways, which is very good. But subways are expensive.
While we're waiting for the subway, because
Yes,
everybody's hoping on that, pinning their hopes on that, no?
BRT is faster, cheaper, and easier to
BRT
build.
bus
rail, transport.
transit. Yun
Yes,
nasa
busway.
gitna ng
Carousel.
EDSA.
Carousels.
Oo. So just to, it's already in place.
It's already in place, but it's just 20 plus kilometers. Jakarta's BRT system is 200 kilometers. We are only 1/10 of that in Manila, and Cebu is almost a joke at even just 2 kilometers. So we have to embed BRT.
But let's
in the
take a
cities.
look at EDSA for one, no? Yung sidewalks niya. Is it possible to still widen the sidewalks or just to improve it at
In
its
certain
state?
stretches, that not all of the
not all.
25 plus kilometers of EDSA can be recovered, but some of it can. And eventually, we can give all of our roads what they call a road diet, because there's no way we can address traffic or congestion by keeping on adding one more lane and one more lane because of the principle of induced demand.
Yeah, yes. So what are your thoughts on PAREX, the proposed expressway across the Pasig River?
Yes, all elevated and elevated highways and skyways never work. We are the last city in the world that are building these things.
Really?
Everywhere else, they're tearing them down. Seoul tore them, San Francisco tore theirs down, Boston
Because
tore
of induced demand?
because of induced demand, and they found out that even if you get the traffic on top of it, it's the ramps that clog everything up. It's the on and off ramps that clog it, so it doesn't work. We are the last country in the world, and it's just an agenda pushed by our public works before because of certain reasons, and by private individuals, just catering to the money they can make from the toll. So it's feeding on already the sickness of being car-centric. It does not work. And the parks will also destroy the river in environmental terms as well as heritage.
But isn't it quite difficult to, I mean, to walk here in the metro? I mean, given usually ang place of work mo ay malayo, several kilometers away. It's not really next door, right?
Yes.
So you'd have to take some mode of
Yes, you have to take public transport.
transportation.
But then how to get from your house to where you have to get the public transport? The public transport is also a missing link. You have to make it safe, convenient, and comfortable. And that's what we lack. And to do so, you have to have walkable sidewalks, you have to have shade, you have to make sure that the standards of our buses and our minibuses or jeeps are up to standard.
You talked about public parks, and you zoned in on one particular one that's being looked at now, the one in Intramuros. Meron pong golf course doon. Sabi niyo matagal niyo nang pinopose na pwede itong maging tawag pumping
detention pump for somewhat. We proposed that when we were retained to do the master plan for Rizal Park. This is over 10 years ago, 2012, 2013, and we had seen that the park is 58 hectares. The golf course is 60 hectares, but the golf course serves only roughly about 200 to 300 golfers, steady golfers year-wide. The park is supposed to service 12 million people. So the minority gets more space than the majority that need open space. So we propose to turn back the golf course into a public park. And it was approved in principle by then DPWH Secretary Babe Singson, who wanted to use the ponds as detention ponds for floodwaters. And by Secretary
could the same be
Moinves.
said by all other golf courses in the metro? We got Wakwak, we have the one in
Camp Aguinaldo,
Yeah,
yeah.
Camp Aguinaldo.
We can't say anything about the private golf
Sabagay.
courses, but the public golf
At
course.
least, right?
Yeah, that's the military camps as well as the Intramuros, and those are public
Where else
spaces.
could we make those kinds of changes? I mean, mga ano yan, low-hanging fruit. yan.
Low-hanging fruit would be the esplanade. Along the Pasig River, you have that Pasig River is 25 kilometers. And each side, if you put a linear park that's 5 to 6 meters wide, you will get the same area eventually as one whole Rizal Park by just building the linear parks along the Pasig
Instead
River.
of a Parex expressway.
Instead of a Parex, our proposal is a Pares, which is Pasig River Esplanade. I mean, the
okay.
government already has started it with 2 kilometers in Manila, beside Intramuros, all the way to the edge of Malacanang. I think they finished phase 4 just last week. But you have 24 more kilometers down the river that you could do, and some of them are already there. They're just not being given enough funding. So even the Paris could use those trillions that we've lost in flood control ghost projects.
Hindi lang beautification, no?
Yes,
I mean, it's
and
actually make it walkable.
it's
usable.
walkable. It's a park, and then we had proposed, because we were involved in the master plan for that. We had proposed 10 to 12 pedestrian bridges over the Pasig. Pedestrian bridges, the 12 pedestrian bridges can be built for the cost of one vehicular bridge. And that would cut commute times for people walking from, say, Mandaluyong to Makati.
And how would those bridges be built? I mean, naka-elevate talaga.
Yes, they're elevated. I mean, they're still pedestrian bridges. The clearance required for the bridges in Pasig River, the minimum is, I think, 4 or 4.5.
Okay.
It's not that difficult, and it's much cheaper to
How
build.
come nobody has taken this up?
I don't
You
know.
proposed it to government
Yes,
already.
we proposed it, and we proposed that it be tied to the ferry stations that are now being considered. Additional ferry stations, as well as improvement of the ferry system. If you notice, the ferry stations are on alternate sides of the Pasig River. So if you have one, say like in Santa Ana, Santa Ana already has a pedestrian bridge in Pasig. You have one in Guadalupe, but you don't have one in Barrio Pineda. Now, if you had a ferry station here, the other side can't reach you unless they go and take 2 jeeps. But if you had a pedestrian bridge beside each ferry station, then the other side of the city can come to use this ferry station, and you don't have to build
Correct.
ferry stations on
And it
either
moves
side.
from east to west, right?
Well,
Pasig River,
the
pag
Pasig
ganun
River moves east to west. So there are lots of things that you can look at. So we have to look at the whole picture in terms of public transport planning, from where you start your day to where you go, usually work, and how to get back.
And has the DOTR started consulting people like you?
Yes, they have good people in their plantilla. I think some of them were my students. But we need environmental planners, urban designers, and landscape architects to design for people. DPWH engineers are fine. You give
And
them a problem.
who's the one approving all of these contracts? Is it DPWH mainly? Is it
it's
not proposed by the DOTR and then...
Yeah, it's DOTR and DPWH. But what we're pushing for in the Philippine Association of Landscape Architects and Philippine Institute of Environmental Planners is that they have puntilla positions which they don't have yet formally.
In the DOTR?
In DOTR, DPWH for planners and landscape architects. Landscape.
Wala pa po.
Wala.
So it's usually...
engineers. They used to have a full plantilla for architects. We had very beautifully designed infrastructure before World War II. That was because they had a full plantilla of architects.
And then what happened? Why did these are
it evolved, and of
architects
course,
get phased out?
I figured corruption just set in, and it became all default just to make money for, as we have now know. So that started.
You notice another thing about flood control. Where was that photo taken? Where there was only one side cemented, tapos sa kabila walang dike, walang
That was
riprap.
in, I believe, Lucena. So I traveled the country, planning jobs, and we see all of the rivers in the 18 major river basins in the Philippines being lined on one side or the other, and sometimes all the way up to the mountains where it's actually not needed to line it with concrete. And Yusek David of DNR confirmed my suspicion that these things really don't work, and all it does is just to funnel floodwaters down to the towns and cities much faster, and that the natural edges of our rivers should be left to do their job, which is to absorb the floodwaters and just slow them down. So the
Nawawala
floodwaters,
yung absorptive capacity.
yes, nawawala yung absorptive, and it disrupts the habitats. Everything wrong with the system now being implemented by DPWH, which is default line everything with concrete.
No, but it's funny because dun sa in the photos that you took
Only
or
one side.
posted rather, only one side had riprap.
Well, it seems to be a function of the 150 million cap for the districts. So they would do 150, wait
then
wait
next
a year,
year.
and sometimes it doesn't happen. And
Okay.
so it doesn't work that way. If you needed to fix it, then you have to do two sides usually, and then make sure that it starts and ends where it's supposed to be. But it's not based. Most of these things we now find are not based on master plans. Under Brave Season, there were master plans for the 18 major, or a lot of the major river basin systems, but they were thrown out the window when it came to implementation, because everybody just applied for their insertions. And it's low-hanging fruit just to make the most money, as we now know.
Moving away from Metro Manila and looking at other cities, where would you start? I mean, is there any city that somehow has good foundations when it comes to its transport system that we can build on, at least have a model city?
No,
None?
because our urban planning is followed the direction of urban sprawl. So to make it fixable, you have to also fix our land use and our zoning systems. Land use planning must come first before transport planning, where we put people's homes.
And what's wrong with our
Because
land use planning?
we're based on sprawl. That means we do single detached houses in large subdivisions, farther and farther away from the city. Then you have to have highways and roads to connect. So we don't have smart densities, mid-rise buildings. So land use planning has to come in before transport planning. We can retrofit some of the cities. The secondary cities are easier to fix because they have less problems. So you have Iloilo, Bacolod, Naga, Tacloban, Tagbilar. Those are the less dense cities with less than 1 million people. It's easier to fix these cities than large metro regions like Metro Manila.
And how would you do it if you had a chance? I mean,
First do an
the land
audit.
use planning.
First do an audit for transport.
No, for land use planning.
For land use, then you have to look at the comprehensive land use plans, which all LGUs have to redo every 9 years or so, and then to refocus this land use planning based on how to really build cities that are more efficient in terms of use of the land, in terms of transport systems. So you work back, removing the old mindset of car-based infrastructure to rail
How
and
about
road-based.
high-rise buildings? For example, the dilemma over in Green Hills, right?
Yes.
Yung parang they were protesting the building of another high-rise condominium beside the residential area. But if you take a look at that specific zone, it's near the business center.
Yes.
So how would you decide?
Well, that's a NIMBY thing, not in my backyard. and the thing is, there's no way to go but up. Of course, there are more efficiencies in medium-rise buildings than very tall buildings. It's a mathematical thing. If you redevelop districts into mid-rise buildings of 10 to 15 stories high, you can get the same efficiencies or number of people in a block. You have to look at it in terms of blocks than having point blocks or tall towers. A tall tower, the people you can put in a tall tower can be accommodated in lower rise, what they call perimeter medium rise buildings.
Madami na lang.
Marami na lang, lower, and you can get the same yields or number of units that you can sell. But it's a problem of opportunities for developers who end up only with very small lots. So that's where your land use comes in that you have planned unit developments or district redevelopments encouraged by the city to redevelop in terms of blocks rather than in single lots, where then you have to go 50 stories to get the same amount of
So you
yield.
would not encourage the high-rise?
There are options. We fall back to high rises because that's the opportunities that are given the developers. So that's where you come in with proper urban planning in terms of planning by district, by blocks, rather than by individual opportunities.
Yeah, because in Singapore, if you take a look, there are a lot of mid-rise.
Yes.
Tama ba? Mid-rise condominiums.
Yes.
And
they do that because
that's
of
how they house their population.
Yes, and in where it's owned by private owners, they have a law called the en bloc sales. That means in a given area or district, if I think it's 75% of the landowners agree to it, the 25 cannot oppose. They have to sell out for redevelopment. So it's creative governance, but it's mainly proper urban planning. So once you show people that these are the options, you have to have options. What we don't have here as options, so we default into.
How should we exercise creative planning over flood control? I mean, how do we begin to reimagine that away from the way we've always seen it?
Well, you have to step back to the master plan for the river basins. It's environmental planning at the largest context. We have 18 major river basins. All of them are prone to flooding because we have denuded the uplands of all of the forests. So it all falls down. So we have to have a master plan. And really the solution, long-term solution, is replant the forest, put detention lakes at every level before it reaches the cities. And all of this a lot of this don't require concrete, which is the default of the DPWHs. Theirs is just a single-minded solution when we really have to attack it with I hate to say
more
this, the whole of government, whole of the society direction.
All the effects of the concrete dikes are much more immediate, I guess.
Yes, there are places where you need them, but from what I've seen, maybe only 20% of the places I've seen really need the levees and dikes because it's at the end of the solution.
So can 1 trillion get us far?
Oh yeah.
Where can that get us?
Well, look at the cities that are worst hit by the flooding, and then that's where you put most of the badly spent money.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us this morning and telling us how we can see the metro again. Time and time again, we need the reminder not to get lost in the hopelessness of our transport system, right?
For
find solutions.
Hire professionals, professional planners, urban designers, and landscape architects. Hire them.
It is possible, and we need more revolutionary minds like you. Thank you. Keep on posting. Thank you so much for your time and insights this morning. We have urban planner and landscape architect Paulo Alcazaren.